Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle, y'all. Today, we have a good episode in store because today is a Q&A episode, and today's question is revolving around one of the elements of our personal training sales system. And one of the elements of selling personal training at times is the follow-up. So if somebody doesn't sign up, we have to follow up. So today we have a Q&A where we are going to be covering following up with a lead, a prospect. So that's really good. I love talking about the sales aspect of our personal training business. So this is going to be a fun one. And before we get started, for anybody that wants to send in their question, remember you guys can send it into personaltrainerhustle.com. There is a place for you to do that there. And you can also just email me at personaltrainerhustle@gmail. So it's just a regular Gmail, but that whatever. I'm like, dude, it's just an email. You can send it in. So you can do it either way, you guys. All right, today's question was sent in by Nicholas Ramsey. Shout out, Nicholas. So the question is, I've been a trainer for 2 years and was at X Sports Fitness in Chicago, but now at FFC. I'm rebuilding completely and learning more about sales. How many times is too many times to follow up with a lead? I've double texted but don't want to seem too pushy. Any help? Thanks, Sam. All right. I love that question, and shout out Chicago because some of my favorite people and the closest people in my circle are from Chicago and Rockford in that area. So shout out to Chicago, anyone listening out there. Shout out some of the coolest people that I know, like I said, and closest people in my life are from there. So I appreciate the question. So this question is about following up. I love this topic, and it's going to be a little bit very direct because now we are going to talk about sales in general. Okay, so this is in a way a sales question, and there are many ways to approach following up. So I appreciate you wanting to get my feedback on following up, and my feedback might not be what maybe some of your gym mentors may say, some maybe the gym owner may say, because there's different schools of thought when it comes to following up. So I'm going to start kind of broad, and then I'm going to ask you 3 questions, okay? So I want you guys to stay tuned for the 3 questions I'm going to ask you guys to ask yourself about your follow-up. And in asking you that question, we should find what works for you. So I'm going to kind of make it about 3 questions. But before that, I guess I want to talk about kind of the different mindsets that exist around following up, okay? One of the mindsets, I call it a shark mindset, okay? Now, the shark mindset is very aggressive, right? What I would answer if you're in a shark environment, if you're in a strictly sales environment, then the mindset is you follow up until they say no or until they buy, okay? I'm going to start there. That's not my style. That's not what I suggest, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But if you are in a corporate environment, or if you are in a sales environment, or if you are very money-driven, which we all are to a certain degree, of course. We all work for money. We all wake up and get ready to go because there's an exchange of money, of currency, for the services or for the work. So, but I'm talking about when it's your leading like motivator, right? When it is above everything else, then that would be your answer, right? If you want to be a shark, which to a certain degree you have to be when you are competing with other trainers in your gym or in your area. You know, for myself, right, I have to be aggressive because there are other gyms in my neighborhood that I have to be paranoid about because they are also going after the same people that either have to choose to come to my gym or go to their gym, right? So there is an aggressive element of sales. There is an aggressive element of following up, of making sure that you squeeze every opportunity out of every person that you deal with, right? So there is that element. But here's where you have to realize that the way that a business owner may think, or the way that the manager may think, the way that a sales director or a sales manager may think, is that the difference here is, and the thing that you have to consider is that you are going to be working with this individual if they sign up. So what happens is sometimes corporations, they think about things very aggressively and they don't care. They say follow up until they say no, follow up until they tell you off, follow up until they buy, right? Like you follow up and you make this sale. The issue with that is that the person that's actually going to be dealing with this individual once they buy is you. This is the difference. This is why you can't just take the person's advice, because they're coming at it from a point where they can follow up and be obnoxious and be a shark and be aggressive. They can do that because they're not the one that's providing the service. You are, right? That's why it's uncomfortable for you. And that's why it's so easy sometimes for management to push the trainers to sell. It's easy for them because they just care about closing the deal. They're not concerned with servicing and creating a relationship with that individual long term. So that's why for me, I don't fall into that school of thought myself, but it is important for us to talk about it, because I know that if you're in an environment where you want to win, you are going to encounter different thought processes, right? Different philosophies around following up, and like I said, I appreciate you asking me, and I'm going to give you the truth. Like, I want to share with you that you are going to encounter this, and there are pros and cons to doing it this way, right? But like I said, it's pros and cons. You have to understand that you're the trainer, and if you want to be a trainer long term, you have to maybe consider an alternative way of doing, a different philosophy around your following up and your sales and your training in general. But I just had to make sure that I start there, because we all have to be aware that this type of salesperson exists, this type of trainer exists. I always feel like this type of person, they make money in the short term, but they don't create a career in the long term, right? So if you're thinking long term, there are ways to still be aggressive that don't involve being too pushy, like you said in your question, right? I'm afraid to be too pushy. Man, stay tuned, because that part of your question is actually a very important part and something that I really want to cover, because I think that is one of the issues that we all run into when we become salespeople, right? Even though we're personal trainers, we have to sell our services. And what happens is all of us are very turned off to that idea because we think we have to be too pushy. But my system in my gym, and some of the things I'm going to share with you here today, are completely not that, because I was the exact same way. I hated being pushy until this day. Till this day, I am not a pushy salesperson. I am not a pushy follow-up person. I just don't do that. It's not in my character. And, I don't do it. And I'm actually going to continue on the point, and I'm going to tell you why. So you can be a shark. What I was also going to say is you can be a friend, and you can be a diva, right? So I always joke around, but I'll tell you why I don't follow up a lot, why I'm not aggressive. Because I'm more of like a diva. I always call it I'm a diva, and I only use that word because I always say I don't beg anybody for anything, okay? That's just my attitude, okay? And I'm sharing that with you now. I'm more of that mindset because I like to position myself, and I like to position my gym, and I like to position my trainers as the best. And the best don't beg. The best don't care, right? Like, that's how I try to function. I don't care if you don't sign up with me. You know why? Because somebody else wants to, right? And that's just my philosophy in life, in dating, and everything, right? I don't care that much, right? Because I don't want anything that doesn't want me, okay? So now I'm kind of sharing with you guys kind of more of my thought process, right? My philosophy around following up and sales in general is I don't want you to sign up if you didn't want to sign up with me to start with, right? I'm not begging you for that. Now, I get it. You do have to follow up. I'm not saying don't follow up. I follow up with people all the time. I follow up maybe once or twice. So you said, you followed up twice. If we want to put actual concrete numbers on this, I'm going to tell you the truth. I only follow up maybe twice. And if I follow up a third time, it won't be until like 6 months or a year later. Okay? Because maybe by then it makes sense that I follow up, right? But I'm not going to keep following up every week, not myself, because, that person knows if they want to sign up or not. Okay? So you can think about it like that, right? Again, you can't be too cocky, but I just want to make sure that the best is somewhere in between, where as a trainer, you're also their friend, okay? And I'm going to say that that's probably the best way to think about it. Somewhere between a shark, a diva, and a friend is what you have to consider, right? So all of the mindsets are important. All of the philosophies are important, right? Why is thinking like a shark important? Because you want to wake up every day and you want to do work. You want to follow up. You want to put yourself out there. The only way you're going to succeed is if you attack the day, if you win the day, if you're aggressively trying to win in a very competitive environment. To a certain degree, you do have to be kind of aggressive. But you need to offset it with the other mindset, right? I said diva. The other mindset is you also have to offset it with, well, my training is special. My training is good. I am doing good work, right? And if you're not, that's one of those things that you have to really consider. And also you have to offset all of that with, but I'm also your friend. And so I do care about you. I care about your health. I care that I follow up with you. I care that you get results. I also care to respect you. I care to respect your privacy. I care to respect your wishes. I care to respect you as a person, right? I don't want to. So there is, and this is one of my philosophies in life. It's never yes or no. It's not this or that. It's being able to balance many ideas and many philosophies and weighing the good and bad of things, right? That's almost all of the problems that we run into in life, is because we want a concrete answer. And the reality is finding the answer by listening to different people, by weighing the different pros and cons to different things. You'll realize I got to use a little bit of this, but a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then also you compare it to your personality and your goals. I feel like I would feel more comfortable being a friend to them. I feel more comfortable making it, like not following up and doing that, right? So again, there's different ways to look at it. I just want to make sure that I share with you that there's different ways to look at how you follow up and why you follow up and the philosophies around following up. But now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, okay? Because now I'm going to hold you and anyone listening accountable to your follow-up and why we're following up and how to follow up and all of that stuff we're going to talk about, okay? So when it comes to following up with someone, right? If I was your manager and you said, hey, Sam, I just finished a session last week or yesterday, and I followed up with my potential customer. My first question to you would be, I want everybody to pay attention here because I'm asking everybody. My question would be, why didn't they sign up to begin with? That is the accountability part that we all need to hold ourselves to, right? If we did a good enough job when we had the chance, we wouldn't be in the predicament of having to follow up, now would we? That's the reality of working on your sales, respecting sales. I tell you guys this all the time. Sales is its own category. Just like you have to learn about training, just like you have to learn cooking, just like you have to learn driving, selling is its own category. You don't just get to say some people buy, some people don't. You have to respect that skill set. It's a skill set. And you need to respect it. You need to read books on it. You need to take classes on it. You need to listen to podcasts around it. You need to practice it. You need to want to be better at it. You have to have a desire to be better because it's going to help you when this comes up. And a lot of us just think that as long as I'm a better trainer, and then I'm a better trainer, and I get more certs, and I have more experience, and I get more cut up, and I get more followers, then somehow that is going to make up for being a salesperson. Selling is its own thing. You can have a lot of followers and still not get them to do anything. You can have a lot of leads and still not get them to do anything. You can have a lot of friends, still not get them to do anything. You could have the coolest workouts, people still say no. You could be 5% body fat, people still say no. Why is that? Because you keep ignoring the thing that we need to get better at, right? For some reason, we just think it's going to happen. So, and I'm not saying that's the case here, because not everybody buys, obviously, or else, like, it'd be 100% closed. So no matter how good you are, people are going to say, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. Maybe it's a little out of my budget. I got to talk to my spouse. Whatever it is that they said to not make a commitment today, it happens to all of us. And then comes the follow-up, right? So my question is always, what happened when you had the chance? What happened when that person could have said yes? Because we have to understand something about selling. And this is a very personal, very emotional thing, to have to confront, right? It's a reality. What I'm about to tell you guys, I'm going to hurt your feelings, okay? So, but just know that if you can get over it and get over your feelings about what I'm about to say, you're going to be better, okay? This is what I'm going to say. The person gave you a shot because they considered buying it already. They thought about buying it, or else they wouldn't have tried it. So if they had the intention to buy it and they didn't buy it, you did something wrong, most likely. Okay? If they didn't have the intention, if they would not have opened the door. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, some people are just going to try to get the freebie. I understand that. But the majority of people gave you an opportunity already. And so my philosophy around following up, this is just my personal philosophy. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with it. But for me, a follow-up is trying to make up for something that I already did wrong. And I'm going to say I already did wrong because it's happened to me. I've followed up and never heard back from someone. That happens. And this is the harsh reality. Following up again is just them ignoring you for a second time, right? If they already ignored you once, I don't know why we think that the second time will be the charm. Now, if they reply and they say, well, follow up with me in a couple of months because I'm going to be out of town or because my budget isn't, then that's fine. They answered, you can follow up again, right? So, I would say that's another rule of following up is, did they reply to begin with and did they tell you follow up with them later, right? If they still haven't said no, then the door is still open. But for me, I say forget about that. I say we need to wow them with our service when we have the chance. Don't wait until you have to follow up. It's just like sports or anything, right? Don't wait until the bell rings, right? Anybody that watches MMA or boxing, right? You see somebody turn it up on the final round. They're down the whole fight. They've been losing the fight. They're down on points. And then they want to try to do something in the last 2 minutes. You had the whole fight to do something. Why are you now trying to turn it up? Right now you're finding the motivation. It's too late. The scorecards are going to go the other way. Now, in a real fight, they might get the knockout at the end. Anybody that watches UFC, you saw what Max already had it won. Anybody that knows Max Holloway. Anyway, he already had the fight won, and he just knocked him out at last round. It was epic. It was crazy. But that's besides the point. The point is, if you're waiting for the follow-up, if you have to follow up, that's a sign that you need to do something better before that even happens, okay? So what I would say is focus on your selling more than focusing on your follow-up skills, okay? Anything else I want to add to that? Nope. All right. So just work on your selling. I mean, we can get into sales now. I guess that's why I paused. I'm like, well, what can I show you about sales? I guess I'll say this, and I've done episodes about this, and I want to do classes around this. This is really, at the end of the day, what we need to figure out when we have the chance. When that person comes into work with you guys, you need to get to the heart of the issue. If you can get to the heart of the issue, what the real pain point is, and you can find a solution to that pain point, the odds of that person signing up are going to be higher. Okay? What I mean by that is knowing that they want to lose 10 pounds and taking them through a workout that they would have to do in order to start losing weight did not get to the pain point, did it? What you need to do is figure out, why is it 10 pounds? How do you feel being overweight? How do you feel carrying these 10 pounds around? How does it affect your life in a negative way? How would it affect your life in a positive way if you lost those 10 pounds? What is this 10-pound weight loss keeping you from? How do you imagine your life being different if you were fitter? What are the sticking points that you think a personal trainer can help you with? Is it your food? Is it your accountability? Is it knowledge, right? You want somebody that's knowledgeable. If you can do that and ask those type of questions and get to the heart of the issue and pinpoint how you're going to help them as a personal trainer, because we have it all wrong. The reason people don't buy is because we're just taking them through a workout without considering what they are thinking, what they are feeling, what their true motivations are, what their true pain points are, what their true desires are, what their true concerns are. You know, I don't know how many of you guys have stopped and thought about, what is this person concerned about? Are they concerned about the price? Are they concerned that they're going to get hurt? Are they concerned that it's not going to work? Are they concerned that I don't know what I'm doing? What are they concerned about? Because if I can figure out what they're concerned about, what's on their mind, I can begin to put them at ease by answering those questions. But a lot of people, you need to ask those things. You need to be aware of those things. So if I can give you guys any sales advice as we finish up point number 1, is you need to get better at getting to the root of what brought them in. If you know the root, they're not going to leave as long as you have a solution to that problem, right? Let's say they're just looking for somebody that's friendly, and all you do is talk about fitness. You didn't solve the issue. They could train with anybody. They're looking for someone they get along with. Or maybe not. Maybe they're looking for someone that pushes them. Or maybe not. Maybe they're looking for someone that's not going to abuse their body. Or maybe somebody that has been there before. So whatever their issue is, you need to figure out what it is and solve for that issue. And then they're not going to want to leave. There's going to be no need for a follow-up if we took care of business when we had the opportunity. But that's just point 1. But let's say your sales are good and somebody just said, hey, let me think about it. Let me follow up. Maybe it's out of my price range, or I'll come back next week. You know, I'll sign up next week. It's, you know, they're going to give you different excuses, different reasons, right? And some of them are valid, some of them are not, okay? But a good principle, or, Sean and I say this, and, we've learned it from sales books that we read. Any experienced salesperson knows this. But if you guys are not experienced in sales, I want to share with you guys something that salespeople say and know. And experienced people, sometimes you end up laughing. I just heard Hermosi say this about his first, for any of you guys that follow Hermosi, Alex Hermosi, he was talking on a podcast about like his first sales experience, and I guess the guy, the woman, he was saying went to the car to get her card, and he told the manager and some other staff. I'm butchering the story, and if he ever heard this, I apologize for trying to tell the story third party, but the issue of the story is that the person, all the sales staff knew that she wasn't coming back. He, as a new person, still believed she was coming back. And that happens with you guys a lot. You still believe what the person says. When you get experience, you realize there are certain rules that you have to follow. So what I wanted to share with you here is one of the rules that experienced people know. Time kills deals. If you want to put that on your windshield, if you want to put that on your window, you want to put that on your door before you leave, remember this: time kills deals. The longer that person goes without having made a commitment, the less likely it is that that person's going to make a commitment. For example, the best time to make that commitment is today. If that person says, I'll come back on Monday, that deal is about 80% dead. If on Monday they said, I just can't make it, but I think I can come back next month because I'll have a different job in a month from now, or I'm moving, that deal is 95% dead, 99% dead, right? Because we've extended the time between the day that they tried it and the day that you want them to come in and make a commitment. The further out it goes, any experienced salesperson knows that deal is dead. It's not happening. And if it does happen, then great. But it wasn't because you kept following up and you said all the right things. It's just that person wasn't lying. They really were going to come back. So that's why you follow up, but your focus can't be there. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But as you become a more experienced salesperson, a lot of the things I'm talking about today are going to make more and more sense, okay? But let's wrap up point number one, right? Point number one is learning to hold ourselves accountable for the reasons why they didn't buy today, right? If you find yourself in a situation where you're having to follow up all the time, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that your selling process needs work, okay? So that's how I'll summarize it. The first thing I want you guys to think about, if you are in this, like, how do I follow up? When do I follow up? How many times do I follow up? The first question you have to really assess for yourself is, well, why aren't they buying in the first place? And that's going to be more efficient, and focusing on that and fixing that is going to pay you back more than solving for the follow-up, right? I would rather you tell me I don't know how to follow up for shit, but I sign up 50% of the people that try my services, right? That's more powerful. Who cares if you don't have a follow-up system? And obviously any good salesperson does, but if you can tell me, oh, I don't know how to follow up, and I said, well, why don't you know how to follow up? And you said, because I never have to, Sam, I would say, come work for me. That's what I would say. I'd say, hey, how much do I have to pay you to come work for me? Because that's a powerful skill, right? You don't know how to follow up because you never have to? Fuck. Please come work for me, because that's what people want. So again, it's all about how you think about things. But I'm not going to leave you high and dry here. I'll give you some tips. Hopefully I don't forget. I'll give you guys some advice on how to follow up as we move forward, okay? Because I do want you to take away some lesson on following up. But first things first, right? What's the bigger picture here? The bigger picture is that we find ourselves in this solution. I'm trying to think of an example, like when it's too late. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. You fall in a ditch and then you're like, well, what's the best way to get out? And it's like, well, we'll talk about that. But first, it's like, why are you always falling into ditches? Like you got to look, you got to learn to read your surroundings if this keeps happening. But anyway, question number two that I want you to think about, assess, self-analyze, however you want to think about it, is I would ask you, this is the second question I would ask you if I was mentoring. I would say, are you following up for them? Are you following up for you? Okay? Are you following up for them? Or are you following up for you? Another big mistake that we make as salespeople is we focus so much and we concern ourselves so much with, our finances. Of course, you want to get a new client, so you're worried. So you want to follow up, you want to call, you want to, go out there, pass out flyers, right? Like whatever it is that you're doing, you're taking action because you're concerned about your goals. You're concerned about your income. You're concerned about how many clients you have, right? Whatever it is that's motivating you, you are concerned about one person. You're concerned about you. What happens to you, right? I need clients. I need to follow up. I need to make more sales. I need to hit my sales quota, right? I need to prove myself. I need to, pay for my car. I. So when you follow up, the reason why a lot of people don't reply or don't come at it, it's because we're coming at it from the angle of not thinking about them, right? Hey, just following up, see if you want to come in. No, they don't want to come in. They didn't want to sign up to begin with, right? The answer is obvious, but we miss that. We follow up anyway because we need to do something, right? We need to take action, so I'm going to follow up. So what's more powerful is thinking about them, right? That's why I said, you want to also have that friend mindset. If you were their friend, why would you be reaching back out to them? What is really in it for them, right? Because clearly they didn't see something earlier. So is there anything that I can do now, say now, ask them now, give them now, that is going to be different than when they came in, right? So am I following up with something or some concern or some consideration to what matters to them? So I'm going to give you guys some advice, right? And I said this a few podcasts ago. I don't know when it came up, but it came up. When I'm going to message somebody after the fact, I never say I'm following up. I never say, hey, I'm just confirming, right? Because obviously I am. That's why I sent the message. I don't have to say, hey, just sending you a text. Of course, I got the text. Why are you saying that, right? This is another lesson for another time when you guys get more advanced, but what's the term here? Using less words is very important too. So that's a different, it has a title. I'm totally blanking on it. Efficiency of words. That's what it is, right? Anybody that's a little more advanced, if you guys are listening to this and you want to kind of look that up and learn about that, efficiency of words is another important lesson and tool to learn in your sales and follow-up process. I can't get into it today. I'm not an expert in it, but I just need you guys to understand, boom, bing, there it is. There's another thing that you could be learning if you're serious about your business, right? So efficiency of words is actually proven to have more positive results. So when you send a message and you say, hey, I'm just following up, that's not efficient. You added words to the text that didn't need to be there. And it's a powerful tool, but it's also a practice. I remember I read a book called something, I'm looking now. It was about copy. And I don't want to edit this whole thing. So I'll go get it. Or you're going to learn a lot of other things. But that was one of the main takeaways I got out of this book. It's called Everybody Writes by Ann Handley. If I just want to make sure that I give you guys that resource if you want to figure out how to get to the point. So what happened when I studied this book was I realized that people were not replying to my confirmation emails, because I do have confirmations that I have to send out. So when somebody books a consultation at our gym, I email them to confirm. And what I was realizing, and Sean will remember this because I had a whole talk with him about it, I said, there's something wrong. I was like, dude, they're not confirming, And so I started looking into writing better. I was like, fuck, maybe the way I write just sucks, or I don't know, but there's a problem. I need to fix it. And I've got a couple of books, but this is what I learned from this book is, being concise, right? Not wasting words is actually going to get people to reply to you more. And when I started doing that, I looked at my email, and I remember the first email I sent after I learned this, and I kept I was like, how can I be more direct? How can I have less fluff in it? How can I have more efficiency? How can I be more direct? But and you still want to be friendly, and that's the hard balance, right? And immediately, ever since then, I've gotten more people to reply to my confirmation emails than before. And I realized I just needed to get to the point quicker. And it really changed how many people were coming into our gym right after I realized that problem we were having. And that's just a lesson, right? Efficiency of words. I just wanted to make sure that I said that as a piece of advice. But really the question that I was getting at was, you know, are you following up for them or are you following up for you? Right? So when you send a message, even if you follow up, number one lesson, I just wanted to share that with you guys. How precise and how direct are you able to make your message? But also, what is the point of your follow up? Is it because you truly believe that your training was going to change their life and they're missing out on the best experience of their life, right? And if that is true, then your trial workout with them should have also shown that. If it's not true, then you're going to feel it because you're going to hold back. You already feel it right now. If I said, are you following up with them because you really believe that they're going to miss out on the best training experience? If you can't answer that with an honest, in your heart, right? Because words we can all lie, We have all seen videos of people that killed someone and they're being interviewed and like, oh, I don't know what happened. So anyone can lie, and we can lie to ourselves. So in your gut, though, you'll know when I say that, in your gut, I don't feel confident about that. I don't really think they're missing out on the best. Okay, then that's good. Now it's a training thing. Now it's an experience thing. Right now you can go back and go, okay, if I want to be able to follow up confidently and say something along the lines of like, I know this can change your life. Number one, I have to have a program and a system that truly does give that to somebody. And if I can honestly do that, then I can honestly follow back with a true concern over that individual missing out on something, right? If your training is really better than the other trainers, then you have a responsibility to sell that person training, and you have a responsibility to follow up, because you know that if they happen to go to a different gym, they might end up with a trainer that's not as good, a trainer that's not as experienced, a trainer that's not as friendly, a trainer that's not as understanding, right? So if you can position yourself in that place mentally and also physically by doing the work, then it's going to change your follow-up organically, because you're going to come at it from a place of following up because you really need this. Right? You told me you needed this. You know you needed this. I have to follow up with you because I'm your friend and I'm your coach and I'm truly concerned about your health. So just again, the mindset shift and really the shift in your business and your service all has to be there if you want to have better follow-ups. If your training is bullshit and you're following up and they don't want to come back, well, it's because the product just sucks. And that's a hard thing to deal with, but that's the reality, That's why my first question was like, well, why didn't they sign up to begin with? Because if you're sharp, they're not going to leave to think about it. They're actually going to be excited to start this journey with you. That's the accountability that we all have to live up to, is making people excited about our services, and it's one of the hardest things, trust me, because I have trainers that work at Logic, and it's like, how do we get everyone to push in the same direction when it comes to like believing that we're the best, training the best, treating every person like they're the only person, like doing all these things? It's not that easy. But if you guys are a business of one, you can make these changes a lot easier for yourself than trying to, do this for a team, right? Following up is easier for one person than it is for a team. But following up is important. And while I'm asking you why you're following up, like here's another piece of advice, right? When you follow up, try to consider a couple of things, right? Are you willing to follow up with an added benefit? Maybe something you forgot, or maybe something that came up, right? Because again, the question that I'm asking you to answer here is your reason for following up, right? Is it just a cold, straight up follow up? Hey, do you still want to come in on Monday, right? Is it just a very direct follow up? Or do you sense that this person needs a little bit more of a motivation, a little bit more of a push? Maybe you realize you didn't cover something and you want an opportunity to do it again, right? That's because, again, you have to understand why you're following up. That's really the point number 2 that I'm asking you guys to like consider is, why are you following up? Just because you didn't get the sell and you're hoping that you're getting it this time? Or because there's something you need to share with them? Because if there is something you need to share with them and you can find something to share with them, then now You have a reason to reach out, right? It's not for you. It's not because I need to sell. It's for them because I forgot something, right? Now, again, this is however you want to do it, right? But like, I'm going to give you some sales strategies here you can use. Number one, you can get better at copy, right? You can get better at writing. I gave you guys a book suggestion. That's one of the books that you can read to get better at writing so that you can be more influential with your writing. So that's one thing you can do. If you're not that great, another thing you can do is maybe something came up. Maybe you go in the system and you realize, okay, there is a discounted rate that I can offer them. If you want to go that route, you can do that. Maybe you completely forgot to share with them some information or some set of exercises for something else, right? And that's why the first question I asked you is so important, like why didn't they sign up originally? Because if you ask the right questions, you would know what to ask. So let's say as you look over your notes and you go, you know what? I gave them like a weight loss type of workout, but they did mention their back and that they wanted to get some stretches for their lower back, right? Or that they're not sure why their back hurts or whatever, right? You got to go back into those notes. This is why, and Sean knows this, like we always look at the notes and we go, these notes are good or these notes suck. The more notes you have from your first meeting with that person, right? Notes about what they said, but also notes about what you saw. You need a lot of notes. Why? Because it makes you a better coach, but also if you find yourself in this situation right here, this is where the notes and the conversation and having a detailed record of what happened in that session, this is where now you can go back into the treasure chest and look for a gem. And you might find one in the notes and go, oh, this was important to them. Let me use this issue right here as an intro back into their life, right? Maybe they said something. Maybe I saw something. Maybe they had a question for me I didn't have an answer for. You got to look all around your notes, really think back in that session and think, what did I miss? What can I open up a new conversation with? And you may find it. Maybe you focus so much on upper body, but you never showed them lower body. So you can reach out and go, hey, I know we didn't have enough time and you want to think about it, but I wouldn't feel comfortable not showing you the lower body routine as well. I know we missed that. Are you free on Monday at 10 again so that we can finish up the other half of the workout routine? And see, now I look through the notes, I look through what I did, and I realize there's a gem here. There's a reason why I can reach out to them. Or they asked you a question or they brought up a topic around whatever, right? Let's make it super random and not fitness related. Maybe they brought up that they were going to go to their favorite sports team game. You can use that as an intro to make an emotional and personal connection with that person. Instead of just saying, hey, following up, see if you still want to come in, you can open up a conversation by talking about the game and saying, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Or I saw that the team won. Were you there? Or did you watch the game? That was crazy. And now you're having a personal conversation. And when that person replies and says, yes, it was crazy, whatever, you go, man, that was so awesome, da-da-da-da-da. Hey, by the way, I know you wanted to come in this day. I'm free at 10 a.m. if you can still make it. And now you've introduced yourself and you got conversation going with them that was honest, that was personal, that was innocent. And now that you have that conversation going, you can reintroduce the business conversation. But if you just open with business all the time, all your talk is business talk, people are going to see through that. Let me ask everybody listening here a question. How many of you guys love getting a follow-up call after you didn't buy something? Most of us are ignoring those calls and those messages on purpose. Most of us, not all of us. It just depends on what happened during that conversation. Maybe the follow-up helps. But again, one thing that we all need to do better is simply, and this is just a life lesson, we all need to do better at putting ourselves in other people's positions, trying to see the world through other people's eyes, right? If we can practice that, then a lot of things become more obvious to us, right? How often do I reply to a follow-up text? How often do I like getting telemarketing calls, right? How often do I like, well, I don't really like it very much. I'm really not that interested. Well, then they're probably not going to like it either. Okay, ask yourself another question. When I go to a restaurant, when I go to a gym, when I go to a boxing class, when I go to yoga, when I go to a massage, what are things that people have done that I loved? What are things that people have done that I hated that made me never want to go back? That's happened to me too. That's how I learned the importance of customer service and the things that people like and people don't like. The way I learned them is by experiencing the world and taking notice. And then I realized, okay, when, like I went to get a massage, I like this, I didn't like this. Okay, now when I see myself as the coach and somebody's coming in to have my service, I have to think, oh, I didn't like when they said that. I didn't like when they didn't tell me the prices. I didn't like when they tried to upsell me. I didn't like when they had me waiting. I didn't like that the room was, smelled like this. Whatever it is, you realize, oh, people care about the experience. Let me make sure that they have a pleasant one, right? So I'm just saying that in general to say when it comes to following up, you have to also consider how you feel about following up and how you would most likely react if somebody had a real combo with you and treated you as a real person versus just someone who may buy my services, right? Again, you're still doing business. I'm not saying, don't focus on business and just be friendly. But the example I said about talking about their sports team, or, I wanted to go back and give you this example. Maybe there's something that they talked about their fitness that we didn't cover. Maybe you see like, oh, they wrote about nutrition and we didn't talk about that. I just took them through the workout and then I tried to pitch them and they didn't buy, whatever. Well, then follow up and now create conversation around what they're eating. Hey, I remember you had mentioned this. I was wondering if you've, tried this cheese instead, or like this bread instead of the bread, or have you tried these snacks? Usually I see that they help my clients with da-da-da-da, right? You're still extending service. You're still extending value to them. And then you can ask for that follow-up consultation or follow-up appointment, but you're still making it about things that matter to them, right? So that's just one piece of advice, because question number 2 is, are you following up for you or are you following up for them, right? So you have to focus on following up for them and find anything that you can message them about that matters to them. And that's going to open up a lot more doors for you. And it can be many different things. You're going to have to trial and error it, right? Maybe you're going to talk about personal stuff that you talked about when they came in, or maybe you're going to talk about technical food and things like that you're going to talk about with them later on. Or, it could be some type of discount or deal or limited time offer. You can do something like that as well. Whatever it is, you should be looking to talk about something that matters to them as you reopen that conversation with them, right? That's the piece of advice I'm going to give you. I'm actually going to give you guys one more piece of advice, because the last point is going to be mean. So let's keep it nice while I'm still talking about nice things. I'm just kidding, you guys. So the last point I was going to make is another strategy you can use is have something ready when that person says they're going to come back at a later time. Okay, there's many strategies you can use here. I just thought of one that a buddy of mine used to do when we were in Bali Total Fitness. My shout out to Angel, who now is a freaking real estate tycoon over here. But that's how far sales can take you, right? But he would sell training, and he was really good at it. And he was really young too. He was like 18, and he was really good at selling. But one of the strategies he used when people said they were going to come back or they weren't going to sign up is he would say, okay, no problem. Is this what you want to sign up for? Oh, yeah, I want to do the 24 session pack. Okay, great. But I got to talk to my spouse or whatever. And he would say, oh, no problem. Well, let's just fill out the contract for now, and then we'll have it ready, and then you don't have to sign it until you come back, or something along those lines. If Angel's hearing this, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it exactly how he did it. Maybe I'm adding a little bit of Sam flair to it and the way that I might do it, right? But what he would do is he would have like a fake agreement that he got them to kind of commit to, but he would say like, we're not taking the payment until you're ready, but I just want to make sure that I have this filed away or whatever. Whatever. I don't know what reasons he used, but he would do something like that. So I'm saying that as an example to say you can have a strategy in place for when this happens, right? So you can steal angels, right? That wasn't my strategy. But I've had other strategies, right? You can have a food log. So when you see that they're not going to sign up, you go, okay, no problem. You need to think about it. While you think about it, why don't I go and get you one of these food logs? So these are my food logs. This is what I do, right? Because it's going to be important to start changing some of the food, and we talked about it, and we're going to have to increase protein. But the first thing I want to do is just kind of see how you eat, how much you drink. So I have this food log here. So why don't we fill it out for the next 3 days, just be as thorough as possible, because when we meet next time, this is going to be super important to cover, and we'll start making tweaks there, and obviously we'll start, moving towards your goals, however you phrase it, right? Whatever. But what that does is it gives them something that they're going to take to remind them to work on, that shows them that you're committed to their training, and also you have to get back, right? So that's a very powerful strategy, you guys, giving them something that they now have to turn back into you as like homework or anything like that. That's something that you can use as your follow-up strategy to make sure that you're incentivizing them, because they're going to want the results of their food, right? They want to know what to eat. A lot of people, they want to know how you're going to change their food, but you're not telling them what to change now, right? This is why preparation in your presentation, preparation in your sales is important, because if you're not prepared for these situations, then you might just start sitting there and talking to them for another 30 minutes about protein intake when you could have used that strategy to get them back. Now, if they already signed up, or if it's part of your sales process, that's fine, as long as you know what you're doing and it's not just happening by accident. So what you can do is you can practice and prepare. This is what I give them when I start realizing that they're not going to sign up, or when they say, I'm going to think about it, I'll be back. I say, okay, I'm going to give you this, and then next time you come in, we'll go over it, because I really think we can make changes here, right? You make it exciting, you make it a physical thing, and now when you follow up, you've set it up, you're following up because you want to go over the food log, because that's going to be, and whether they want to sign up for boot camp, whether they have money, they still want the answer to that, and that's going to get them back, and you can talk about it and re-pitch the training, and maybe this time you can get them to sign up. Another strategy you can use is also, and you can use it in combination with the other ones, but another important thing is you can try to set up the follow-up day before they leave. So let's say they say, I'm going to think about it. What you can do is say, okay, no problem. You want to think about it. How long do you think you're going to need? Just a couple of days. Oh yeah, just a couple of days. Okay, great. Why don't we set up for Monday at noon, if that works with you? And now you just get them to commit to a time, right? So before they leave, they're committing to the next session, because if, let's say you train them on Monday, they should know if they can sign up or not by Friday. They should be able to talk to the spouse by Friday. They should be able to go over the numbers by Friday. They should be able to look at their schedule by Friday. Whatever excuse they gave you, by Friday, if they came in on Monday, Friday is a reasonable time for them to come in, right? Or you could do it Thursday, right? Time kills deals, like I said. So you got to be careful, because what they're going to do, and this is a major sign that they're trying to kill the deal, is when you suggest Friday, they're going to say, oh, how about next Friday? And they're going to extend the timeline, because they're hoping that you forget. They're hoping that they're off the hook. They're hoping to have an excuse by then, right? By that time, it's been so long, they don't feel the pressure. They can just tell you, you know what, I really need more time. I can't come in. And, they'll kill the deal that way. But it is a strategy you can implement to set up a time for them to come in. And again, maybe you attach a reason to that. Okay, you know what? I know you need to think about it. You should definitely think about it. Oh my God, there's so many lessons. Another thing you want to do is be agreeable in that moment, you guys. One of the worst things you can do, because a lot of times we kill the follow-up because we press them too much on the day of, right? So if what you do is you hard close them, if you pressure them, if they keep telling you, I need to think about it, and you keep going, why? What can I do? We have this deal. If you make that uncomfortable, the follow-up's not going to work, because they don't want to come back to that. So another strategy you can implement is to, the moment they do that, be agreeable. If they say, I need to think about it, the first thing out of your mouth should be like, oh, absolutely. Of course, this is something you should be thinking about. I would be surprised if you didn't tell me you need to think about it, right? You flip it on them. You show them that you're expecting them to say that. Now, you shouldn't expect them to say that, but it's just a strategy you use to make them feel comfortable, right? And you can say, Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Do you need anything else from me? Like, do you need a copy of the rates? Do you need a copy of this, right? You become of service. You show them. Yeah, absolutely. No, you should definitely think about it. How long do you think you need to think about it? And then you go into the pitch. Oh, just a couple of days, right? Sure. Okay, then would you be free Thursday at noon? And now, and then again, sometimes I jump in and I'm like, I'm only asking because, right? So that's just my strategy. I might say, well, I'm only asking because my schedule's pretty full around the time that you came in. So I just want to make sure I have you in for Thursday at noon or Thursday at 10. It's one of my popular spots. And what that does, again, it just kind of creates this like urgency, this status around your training, because now you're so busy, you're trying to just make sure you have time for them. So that's like a strategy that you can use right there. But that's another part of it too. If you make them uncomfortable while they're still with you, they're not going to be comfortable to come back. But if you make it really, it's all good, don't worry about it, then they're more likely to believe you when you say, hey, can you come back? I want to show you this about food. Or, here's a food log you can fill out, or here's a homework that I want you to try. I think if you got to make sure you practice these 3 exercises. So I'm going to write them down for you. And, let me know how you feel by the end of the week after doing this. But I would suggest you do these 3 exercises twice a week. I think it's going to start helping you in whatever their goal is or whatever their issue is, right? But again, sometimes the best thing to do is to be of service and to give something, especially when they're about to be gone and the follow-up is going to have to happen. The best strategy is to give them something that you need them to do. So I'll summarize this by saying one of the best mentalities you can have when you are selling someone and then having to follow up with them is behave like their trainer the entire time. All right, that's the last piece of advice I'm going to give you here. Okay, I could keep going about a bunch of stuff, but I want you guys to really get some value, take something from what I'm sharing with you guys. Another powerful strategy, and it ties in with the examples that I gave you, is the moment you met that person, you're their coach, whether they paid or not. Have that in your mind. It's going to change the way you behave, the ways you follow up, the way you train, the way you pitch, the way you text, the way you call. Everything's going to change when you're just like, well, I'm your trainer. Until you tell me you're not coming in, until you tell me stop, until you tell me you can't do it, can't afford it, not going to do it, until then, I'm kind of your coach. So I'm going to give you homework because that's what I would do with my clients. I'm going to give you a food log because that's what I would do with my clients. I would follow up on how you feel after the workout because that's what I would do with my clients. I would send you these stretches this week because that's what I would do with my clients. Right? I would text you to see, about our next session because now we got to work on a different principle, a different concept, because that's what I would do with my clients. So if you take on that attitude, then the follow-up process becomes a little bit more clear, right? It makes more sense when you're going to follow up. So hopefully some of those strategies land and you guys can take something away from that. Woo! We haven't even gotten to number 3. Let's get to number 3, y'all. Question number 3. I said I'm going to hurt some feelings here. Where is your focus? Right? That's the question that I would ask you. Again, if I was your manager right now, I would say, where's your focus? And if you kept following up, I would say, why are you focused more on old leads and not new leads? Okay, so that's where I was getting at with this last answer. Following up is a double-edged sword. Okay? Following up is good because you want to see your process through, okay? If you don't follow up, you may be leaving something on the table. Your sales process, your presentation, everything, it's not complete if you don't have a follow-up process. So it is good to have a follow-up process. It's good to have a strategy, right? And the last point, I shared with you some of the strategies I might implement to follow up with someone. So following up is good. The problem is that following up is looking backwards. And what I mean by that, and I've seen it. That's why I know this to be true. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in my friends. I've seen it in coworkers. I've seen it in trainers I've hired. I see it all the time. Right? This is a personal question you guys have to ask yourself. Are you following up because it's part of your process, or are you following up because you don't have anything else to do? Because one of the reasons why I try not to focus on the follow-up, right? I mean, of course, the follow-up is important. But when I was prospecting, I always thought more about getting new leads than I did about following up. Because what happens is in sales, you guys, there's a lot of traps, okay? In business, there are a lot of traps. One of the traps I always talk about is like falling into the trap of wanting followers over clients, right? That's a trap. Just to give you guys an example, right? Sometimes we fall into a trap. And then we realize like, man, I've been working on my followers for months now, and I still don't have any clients. Oh, you fell into a trap, buddy. You fell into a trap because you forgot what the point of what you were doing was, right? You became a trainer to train people. You became a trainer to create a career out of training. You became a trainer to have clients that change people's lives, to, you're a coach to coach people, and you fell for the trap of making content, and usually making content for other trainers to steal your ideas instead of getting clients, right? So that could be a trap. I'm not saying getting a followership isn't important, but again, because it is important, we fall into a trap and we lose focus on what's important. Another trap is the certification trap. When most trainers begin to struggle with sales, when most trainers begin to struggle with building up their business, when most trainers can't build their client base, when most trainers begin to lose clients that they had, right? They cannot renew them. They begin to think that it's because they need to have more certifications, right? Once I graduate from this, once I have a certification in this, which is, again, why is it a trap? Because it's so close to the truth. Just like the follower one, right? Do you need to get followers? Yeah, it's important. But you might fall for a trap where you're more concerned about likes than you are about money. Business isn't likes, business is money. Now, if you can turn those likes and those followers into money, then you have a strategy. But there's a trap there. You might fall for the trap. And it's the same thing in what I was just talking about with falling for the trap of certifications. Education is very important. Education is going to help your training, but it might not be the solution. You might fall into a trap of education and still not fix your business. And that's usually what happens. I know a lot of people that have more certifications than I do that don't have clients, that don't have businesses, that are always struggling, that are always getting fired, that are always having to get new jobs, always starting over, because that's not the problem. But it looks like you're solving for something because it's an important thing, right? So these are traps. So I'm giving you those examples to illustrate how following up is also a trap. Following up is important. Following up is necessary. Following up is a strategy. Following up is part of the process. But be careful you don't fall into a trap. What's the trap? You begin so focused on the leads you had that you forget you could have solved this problem by getting new leads, right? You're trying to dig up old stuff that already said no. If you had enough leads, this would not be an issue, right? Anybody listening right now trying to still follow up with some people, right? I'm going to tell you this. If you had 10 people call you every day, how many people would you be concerned about following up with, right? If you were signing up one new client every day, one new client every week, how concerned would you be with calling people from last month for a third time, right? If you have enough clients, you might not really be concerned because now you're training, you're waking up, you're training, you're getting your equipment, you're following up on their payments, you're putting their programs together. You're busy. You're busy doing what you said you were going to do. You're busy training. You're busy getting clients. So what happens is, more likely than not, you're probably not going to be that worried about following up because you got clients. It's only when we don't have clients, then we keep trying to force the issue on the people that said no. Again, it's a trap because not following up is also not good, right? You want to follow up, but you may fall into a trap where you're focusing on old leads instead of focusing on generating new leads. That's where the issue needs to come into place here. Get new leads. Where is your focus is my question number 3 to you guys. Get new leads. Focus on how do I get one person's phone number every day, right? Instead of calling the old phone number for a third time, Why don't you get 3 new phone numbers today? 3 new phone numbers this week? And the reality is because it's harder, right? It's easier to follow up on an old lead than it is to get a new lead. Everyone knows that. But here's the thing, it's a trap because the new lead is actually going to pay more dividends. The new lead gives you the opportunity to start from the beginning and solve the problems that you didn't solve for the last lead, right? That's why I started where I started with why didn't they buy in the first place, right? If you find yourself following up, do better with the next lead. Also, not all of us are for everyone, right? Maybe your style is not what that person wanted. So it doesn't matter how many times you follow up. They're not looking for someone like you. They're looking for someone else. And that's totally fine. I always compare it to dating, man. One of the worst things that anyone can do, in my opinion, is to ask another person, why don't you want to go out with me? That's not your problem. You know what I mean? I just don't want to is a good enough answer. And so if we understand that in that world where any one of us would be frustrated with somebody asking us that when we turn somebody down, right? Just put yourself in those shoes. Think of someone you're just absolutely not attracted to. And they text you and they go, why won't you go on a date with me? How uncomfortable is that? Right? It's toxic behavior. It's uncomfortable. It's egotistic. It's something that nobody wants to deal with. And so what do? We come up with fake reasons as why not. Okay, so that's what happens to a lot of us when we sell. The person just doesn't want to do it, and we're taking it so personal that we're making them uncomfortable. We have to make them keep giving us different excuses when I just don't want to do it. Should have been good enough. Now, here's the thing. The next person you might be perfect for. And so instead of following up on this old person that already said no over and over again, if you would have just gone up to a new person and said, do you want to train with me? They might have gone, I would love to train with you. And now you're using your energy more wisely, right? Just be who you want, who that person wants you to be. Like, sell to people that want to be sold to. Selling isn't forcing. It's not telling. You can't convert everybody. What you're looking for is just people that want what you have. Now, if too many people don't want what you have, then you have to self-assess. But again, it's never the other person's problem. It's a you problem, right? If you have 10 leads and 10 leads tell you no, you can't be mad at that 10 leads. You have to self-analyze. You have to begin to ask questions, ask your peers, read books, fix the issue. And I'm also talking to you guys about your dating lives because some people get really bitter in their dating lives, right? If you also find that, hey, here's a word of advice. You can never blame the other people. It's a you thing. It's always an us thing, if it happens too much, right? And again, we have to figure that out. If some people like you, some people don't, that's normal. That's all of us. But if 90% of the people show no interest, well, then maybe it's us, right? If you're 0 for 10, it's probably not 10 people that have an issue. It's probably I don't know what I'm doing. So where is your focus, right? Your focus should be, in my personal opinion, focus should be more on new people, new leads, selling, better training. And then if you're busy, you don't care that much. But also when you follow up, there's not that much pressure on the follow-up. You're just going to follow up because it's part of your process. Hey, just taking a break on Friday from the sessions. Wanted to let you know I'm free next week if you want to take it. If you don't, I totally understand, but I just try to make sure I offer my time to other people because, my schedule's getting kind of busy, right? When you come at it from that perspective, from that stat, it's totally different. So sometimes you have to just understand that that's how you need to behave. That's how you need to see yourself. Because sometimes when you're not busy, then you kind of have this like beggar energy and people feel it. When your whole schedule is wide open, when you have all the time in the world to remember to follow up with them, it's almost a turnoff, right? It's almost better to just forget to follow up with them because you're busy, right? So it's a tricky thing. You have to follow up. You don't want to beg too much. It's kind of difficult. I did give you guys some advice on like strategies to follow up. But just to answer the question, to finish up and answer the question with like solid, I would say 2 is good, man. Following up twice is good, especially if they did reply. So I think how many times you follow up is based on them replying and what they say, right? So if you message them once and they didn't reply, then I don't know about following up again. They're ignoring you for a reason, and that's fine. You guys, you're going to ruin your careers and your relationships in your life if you always want an explanation. Or if you feel, because you guys, I don't know, you guys all have different personalities, but I'm just warning you, if you find yourself being very aggravated, you have to be careful. You should not be getting emotional about this, right? You're going to be more powerful. You're going to have better relationships. You're going to have better careers if you can learn to take no for an answer, right? The people that can't take no for an answer, sure, sometimes they can get a lot of things in the short run, but in the long run, they destroy their relationships. They destroy their careers. They destroy their businesses. They destroy everything because in the long run, other people don't want to deal with always having to explain themselves, always having to say yes to you, because if not, you'll throw a fit, right? So what happens is you think you get yeses, but you're not getting a long-term yes. You're getting a short-term yes just to shut you the fuck up because you complain, because you whine, because you cry, because you get upset, because you throw a fit. So if you guys are that, I'm just checking you right now. Be careful. If you're very emotional, be careful. Highly emotional people are very predictable. And that's something you don't want to be, especially in your career and your business. You don't want to be so obvious that the moment that somebody honks, everyone in the car knows you're about to fly off the wall. If you're that predictable, you're not going to be able to compete. It's easy. It's too easy. All somebody has to do is troll you on Instagram or on Twitter, and they know they've got your attention because you're predictable. So if you are very emotional about, they said no, they didn't answer my text, so I'm going to text them again, you're falling for a trap. You're letting your emotions take you away from being focused, right? Same thing in relationships with everything. If somebody doesn't want to hang out with you, why don't they want to hang out? If you keep doing that, you're going to keep falling into this trap of wasting energy and time, and your life and your time and your businesses, the time's going to pass by, and you're not going to find those answers. And even if you do, it won't change the outcome. That's the problem with asking those questions. You want to know why? It's not going to change anything. That person's still not signing up with you. That person's still not saying yes. That person's still not your friend. That person's still not going to date you. Like, it's wasted energy. It's wasted time. And a lot of people can't see that in themselves. So, if you guys made it this far, man, like, just be careful with that. Anybody that's very emotional, it's not a disciplined characteristic. You're not in control of you. And if you want to win, you need to be in control as much as you can. So again, it's good to feel feelings, that's the beauty of life. You got to feel things. Like, I know it's going to hurt when that person doesn't reply. It hurts me. I know I'm going to doubt myself when people don't sign up for my gym or my so you should feel it, but you can't let that feeling control all of your actions moving forward. If you follow up with someone and that person ignores you or says no, the answer isn't following up again. The answer is moving on to somebody who doesn't need a follow-up because they wanted to train with you from the beginning. You guys, we need to pull back a lot in our life. And what I mean by that is look at a bigger picture, right? You're so focused on one person. There are thousands of people right on your block, within a mile from you. If you see a car drive by, just really try to do the math on how many cars drive by your gym every day. There are thousands of opportunities, and you're focused on one person, right? We get so hyper fixated on one thing, and we miss the entire view, right? Like, My gym is a very small studio, and all 4 of the trainers at the gym have enough clients. People come in, and that's just a little studio in a little town, Culver City. So you can't tell me you can't build up your business, but just keep moving forward. I've been doing it for years, and we have some old clients, we have some new clients, but the mindset is always keep the old clients, get new clients, and if you don't want to do it, I ain't forcing you to do it. I don't care. I'm just focused on getting new people because somebody else might love what we're doing. If you can't see it, that's on you. Some people like pickles. Some people don't like pickles. Some people like jalapenos. Some people hate jalapenos. Some people love hiking. Some people hate hiking. Some people love reading. Some people hate reading. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? If you don't like pickles, what, I'm going to force you to just fucking eat pickles because you have to like them? It's free range. Who cares? If you like women, you like women. If you don't like women, you don't like women. What the fuck are you going to do? Force people? So it's the same philosophy. You can't force people. But find your tribe. Find the people that like what you like. You like training this way? Find people that like your training that way. It's going to be a lot easier to do that. Again, when I say that, I always have to make this note because I also am a big believer in accountability and self-assessment. Like I said earlier, if everyone's telling you no, if everyone's ignoring the follow-up, well, now you also have to have the wherewithal to understand maybe it is you that needs improvement, right? So it's like I said in the very beginning of this podcast, it's a balancing of ideas and philosophies, right? You have to balance, hey, I'm looking for people that like me and the way that I do things. You have to balance that with the complete polar opposite idea of, if I'm not doing a good enough job, I need to figure out how to be better. Completely opposite, right? One is, it's my fault. One is, it's not my fault. It's just whoever wants to train with me. And you have to be wise enough to figure out where you are in that, right? And what I always say is it's in the results. It's always in the results, right? That's the beauty of being a results-driven individual. If you guys can practice that in your life, you're going to live a way more real and productive life. What's the result? Do people say yes to the training? Do people say no to your training? How often do they say yes? How often do they say no? If you are finding that you only get 1 in every 10 people, you probably need to get better. If you're finding that you get 5 out of 10, you're probably doing okay. You can improve over time, but that's pretty good. If you find that you get 8 out of 10, you're probably on the top of the list when it comes to selling, right? So results tell you where you stand. And somebody else can come in and be like, dude, you suck. I'm like, okay, well, I sign up 8 out of 10 people that work with me. What do you do? Right? The result always stands above your opinion, above your feeling, above everything. So I'm just asking you to be wise in this, How many people are you following up with? If it's a normal amount, hey, every once in a while somebody doesn't sign up, I follow up with them. That's great. Implement a good strategy there. If you find yourself following up all the time with everyone, then what's going on in the beginning? Why are they not signing up, right? So it's just, where's your focus? What's going on? But the main takeaway here at the end is make sure that you are thinking about the top of the funnel. Get a lot of leads, okay? So now I'm back to actually Nicholas, right, who sent this question because, hey, it's not all you. I'm being broad, man, so take the bits that make sense to you. If it doesn't, it's just a general answer that I'm giving. But specifically, Nicholas that sent this question, that would be my biggest piece of advice is focus on the top line, meaning just get more leads, okay? It's all going to be better if you just have more opportunities to close deals and spend more of your time worrying about that side of it, the top line, and everything else will filter out at the bottom of this whole sales cycle, right? So even if you're figuring out your sales, even if you're figuring out your follow-ups, if you have more opportunities to sell and more opportunities to follow up, you're going to get better at it faster, right? If you only get 1 or 2 leads every month, then it's going to take you a whole year to learn how to do this, right? How to sell, how to follow up. It's going to take a long time because you don't have a lot of opportunities to even practice. But if you can get a new lead every couple of days, a new lead every week or whatever, if you can increase the lead amount, then you're going to learn faster. Even if you're going to make all the same mistakes, you're making them instead of in a year, you're making them in 2 months. So you'll be way more experienced in 2 months' time instead of moving real slow, following up 3 or 4 times. And I know you didn't say that, but following up, instead of like, you could have already signed up 3 new people in the time that it took to be following up with these people that are just, for some reason, whatever it is, not interested, So that would be my personal advice, is just focus on the top line. And then anybody listening, for you as well, like, get new people and fix the problems as you go. There's a lot of things that have to happen in business. It's not just getting leads, it's closing the leads, it's training people, it's getting results, it's programming, it's renewing them, it's keeping them for a long time, it's growing your brand, maybe growing it to where you need to hire somebody. Like, there's so many levels you can keep going, but at the end of the day, nothing happens if you don't have new customers. And obviously, the second part to that is nothing continues to happen if you don't keep customers. But that's where a lot of the focus should be. Are you getting new customers, and are you keeping customers? If you can do that, everything else you'll figure out as you go. But if you don't have any customers, how do you know your program works? If you don't have any customers, what good is it to have a bunch of followers? What good is it to have a bunch of certifications? Like, without the leads, without the customers, everything else is for naught, right? Who are you using your certifications on? Who are you using your program on? Who are you training out of all these followers that you get, right? So you're missing the mark. Leads and converting leads is the most important. Everything else kind of comes after that, okay? So that's all I'll say about that. I appreciate the question. You guys can send in your questions. Like I said, you can just send it to Personal Trainer Hustle Gmail, or just go to personaltrainerhustle.com. There's the tab there. That's how this question got sent in. You go on there, you fill it out just with your question, and I get it, and I turn it into an episode. And every once in a while, I reach back out to you guys and have you on, and we have a chat and talk a little bit more about your business, your experience, and I get to answer questions live over a Zoom call. So that can also happen. So anybody that wants to send in a question, please do. I hope today's episode helped at least one of you guys, if not more. But yeah, I need to get back to work, y'all. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.